up, everybody? It's the Poppin' T Podcast. Here with your host, Poppin' T. As usual, Poppin' T. What's the T for today?
So, it's combine season, right? Marvin Harrison Jr., the consensus number one wide receiver, probably going to go in the top 5, just announced that he's not going to be participating in the combine. Now, I don't really expect much to change with his draft positioning, but Malik Neighbors and Romo Dunze are both considered to be very good wide receivers that probably would go as the first wide receiver off the board in many other drafts. So if they come out and have a great performance, there's a chance that other teams might view them as the better option than Marvin Harrison. What do you think about that?
He just decided not to work out at the combine. I assume he's waiting till his pro day to get his numbers a little better, get a little stronger maybe. Hell of a career at Ohio State since 2022, 29 total touchdowns, over 2,400 receiving yards. Just a dog. So we'll see. It's interesting, him not competing. We'll see if anybody jumps him. But I think he'll still be the consensus number one.
I do too, but hey, if Malik comes out, runs like a 4.3 or something, I don't know. But we will see. So let's get right into this episode of our RSD, resign, sign in free agency, and draft series. We got the NFC East this week. Very excited for this division. It's a lot more exciting than the NFC South. But yeah, let's get right into it, if you're ready. All right, so we're going to start out with the Eagles today. TJ, you're going to start us out. Who do you think the Eagles should retain?
I feel like there's one option only. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jason Kelce himself.
Beast.
36 years old. Is thinking about retiring. Hasn't made a decision just yet. We all know he's been one of the top centers in the league for his entire career. Only 2 sacks allowed since 2021. He's just a pillar of that team. So if he decides to come back, got to bring him back some way, somehow. He's an unrestricted free agent, but Kelce seems like a loyal guy. So if he does come back, I don't really see him going anywhere else or them having to break the bank to get him back.
Yeah, I doubt it. I feel like he knows that this window is slowly but sure, or quickly closing. Sorry. And they don't have a ton of money to work with. They're sitting at $27 million, so I could definitely see him signing one more on the cheap before the cap room starts to really get difficult.
Yeah, a little last ride type of thing. Especially after seeing his little brother win the Super Bowl. How could that not motivate you to go for another one?
I'd come back.
You have to.
So let's move on to the player that I think that the Eagles should sign. And that player for me is going to be Buccaneers linebacker Lavonte David. Lavante's 34 years old, but he is still a player that is capable of playing at a Pro Bowl level in my mind. The Eagles linebacker situation last season was one of the worst I've ever seen. Just one of the worst groups. It had hurt Zach Cunningham. They had to go sign Shaquille Leonard, who doesn't even look close to the same player. I can't even name most of the other guys in that linebacking unit. But point is, they need linebackers. You know, Lavonte, like I said, is still playing like a Pro Bowler. 134 tackles, 4.5 sacks, forced fumble last year. And I think that, like I said, that window's closing for them for a Super Bowl chase just because they got Devontae coming up. They got some of those D-line pieces coming up that they got to pay. So why not get Lavonte on a cheap 1 or 2 year deal? That could solve that unit, or at least go a long way in helping to solve the Eagles' weakest unit on defense.
Definitely. We've talked about it. I think Pat Queen to Seattle is like pretty much confirmed. But Lavonte David definitely still has a lot in the tank. Maybe just like a 2 year rental, 1 year even. just to get a guy in there who knows what he's doing. Is a pro. Can play sideline to sideline still at his older age. But that's definitely a position that they have to upgrade this offseason. I agree 100%.
Yes, no doubt.
For my draft, the Eagles have the 22nd pick in the first round this year. I think they should take cornerback Kenyon Mitchell. I'm not sure if I'm 100% pronouncing his name right.
I think it's Quinion or Quinion. I don't know.
I have to look it up. But today the DBs did on-field drills, looked great, fluid in his movements. Shocked the world, ran a 4.33, blazing fast. Had a great Senior Bowl, 6 interceptions, 4 PBUs, 45 PBUs in 2 years. 6 foot, 195 pounds, and he's just dominant in zone, man. Play inside, outside. And for me, the Eagles need a lot of help on defense. You just talked about the linebacking core, but their secondary also needs help. They just released safety Kevin Byard today. So this is definitely a guy I think that they could plug in and play immediately.
I agree. How fast did you say he ran today?
4.33.
Yeah, that's fast. And this is a guy that just probably was the best player at the Senior Bowl, if we're being honest. I think he lost like 2 reps in the whole day of one-on-ones, which those drills are set up for the DB to lose, like one-on-one against a wide receiver, and for him to only end up losing 1 or 2 of those reps the entire day is incredible. So I think he did a ton of work getting himself into the first round with that Senior Bowl. And after a day like today at the combine, I don't know. Maybe we see him go even earlier than pick 22, but I do love the pick for the Eagles considering how weak that defense was at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be hard if he's sitting there at 22, which is I think is going to be hard for him to be sitting there at 22. But if he's there, you got to take him.
I definitely agree with that. You ready to move on to the Cowboys?
Yeah, let's talk about them boys.
All right, let me
All right, Pop,
grab
we,
my
we got the cowboy hat out. Big Nashville guy.
Yeah, I got that as a tip today at my job. So
Nice,
I'm
nice.
wearing a cowboy hat. Let's see. I think that the player I think this is a very similar situation to our Eagles retain. The Cowboys are sitting at negative 9 mil. I think you gotta find a way to keep Tyron Smith, especially with their Super Bowl window getting tighter and tighter. Not that it's ever truly been open for the Cowboys; they never can seem to get it done. But you got Micah coming up, you got CD coming up, so having this team at this level or at this level of talent uh, is not gonna it's not gonna stick around for that much longer. But Tyron Smith, he's been a Cowboy for life. I just can't really see him signing anywhere else, and he's still playing like one of the better tackles in the game. Cowboys legend, of course. But you're definitely gonna need to cut some players to make room for this guy. But there are some definitely good cap casualties. Guys like Michael Gallup, who didn't have the best year. That's a 9.5 mil savings after June 1st.
Yeah, that's definitely a cut candidate right there.
For sure. LVE, he saves you 2.5 mil, a guy that just he's played good, but he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
And then you're paying your backup quarterback 2.25 mil next year, Cooper Rush. So those are 3 guys that I would definitely consider cutting in order to keep the main man, left tackle Tyron Smith.
I definitely agree with that. For me, the guy they have to sign is actually on the other side of the ball. Like you said, they're kind of in a hard place with money, but they're looking to extend Dak Prescott. So if they get that contract done, that'll open up a little bit of space for them this year. This year, Stephon Gilmore, Jordan Love, C.J. Goodwin, and Noah. I don't even want to try to pronounce his last name.
Igbenogany.
Igbenogany. They're all free agents. So it'll just be Trayvon and Duran. So I think Chidobe could be that good third corner for them. He was the number one for Cincinnati last year, and I think that would be great depth if you can get another starting caliber guy in your rotation. Started the year off strong, his first 6 games, and kind of had a rocky stretch, and finished out the season pretty well. He's only 28 years old. I know it's kind of old in football age, but he has a lot left in the tank. Maybe just a 1 2 year deal. But I think that the secondary is definitely going to need some help.
I couldn't agree more. And getting a former Cowboy back in there, someone that's played with this defense before, and a guy that didn't end 2023 exactly like he probably would have, but he's been one of the more underrated corners in the league since coming to Cincinnati. So I'm sure that him coming back to Dallas would kind of reignite his career, and he would be a great third corner alongside Deron Bland and Trayvon. So I love the re-sign, I guess, of Chidobe.
Yeah, bring back an
But
old cowboy.
oh yeah, bring all the old guys back. Tyron, Chidobe, and anyone else that wants to come lose in the wild card round.
Another
It's
12
like,
and 5 just to lose. But I can't speak much as a Ravens fan.
yeah, I'm gonna hide the flag behind me. But let's go with our draft pick. They pick at 24, which feels way too late for the fact that they lost in the first round. But I'll let that go. I have them picking Amarius Mims, the tackle out of Georgia.
Beast.
Now this is mainly for, they don't need him right now, but once Tyron inevitably leaves or retires, you're gonna need someone to protect the Axe blind side. And this dude is a mountain, bro. He is 6'7", 340 pounds. Like this is
Jeez.
one of the bigger tackles in the league from the jump. First snap he plays, one of the bigger guys. And he is explosive. He dominates as a pass protector with just how athletic he is. Like this is a dude that moves like a tight end in a 6'7", 340 size.
Definitely.
And with that much size and that much athleticism, he's a filthy run blocker as well. And he's got that like finisher mentality where he's trying to put you in the dirt every single time he's blocking you, which how can you not love that? But his only main weakness is that he's only started 10 games at Georgia, but if you can have him sit behind Tyron for the first year, like that's a perfect situation, and have him come in when someone gets injured. Tyron's hasn't always been the healthiest guy, so I really like the fit for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I do. I do too. Especially because it's nice to have a young tackle on a rookie deal. When you're going to be paying Dak Prescott, Trayvon Diggs, and Micah Parsons the bank. But I honestly kind of disagree with you on the pick. Like I like the idea of it, but I'm a guy that I like to score points. And like you said, Gallup could be a cap casualty this year. So I kind of like them taking Troy Franklin out of Oregon.
Hmm.
6'3", 187 pounds. Had almost 1,400 yards, 14 touchdowns. It's a big guy. He's a fast guy. Um, just pairing him with CeeDee Lamb, um, like I said, they're going to have a lot of bills to pay. So getting Troy on the same field with CD on a rookie deal, while everybody else is making money, I think that can make for a great connection on offense. Um, just get as many weapons around your guy as possible.
I do like that pick a lot too. Yeah, I like that pick a lot too. I uh I had a hard time picking a player for the Cowboys to draft because there's no like major need, but you're not gonna like skip on a position because everywhere could use someone else. Like you could use another defensive lineman, especially with how Mozzie Smith hasn't worked out. You could use another linebacker because it's LVE and no one else, and LVE's hurt. You're losing all your DBs. Your O line's getting old. You're losing receivers. Like this team could use more across the
I say they
board.
could use anything but a quarterback, basically.
Exactly. So I don't hate that pick either, honestly.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm sticking with the trenches. Got to protect that guy. If you're gonna pay him $1 billion or however much he wants to reset the QB market
60
to,
mil a year.
yeah, that's too much. Too much, Dak.
Probably gonna give it to him, honestly.
Probably.
Jerry Jones has deep pockets.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's get on to this next team. Don't want to run out of time here, but we got the New York Football Giants. This is a team with 30 million cap. Not the season that they were hoping for in 2023 after a playoff berth in 2022. So let's talk about our three players that we want the Giants to hold on to or attain to make that jump next season.
So for me, the R guy, the retain guy. Same way I felt about Kelsey. There is only one option. Safety Xavier McKinney had a crazy breakout last season. Jumped 69 tackles from the year before. Had 116 total tackles, 3 interceptions. 87.8 PFF rating. When he was thrown to only a 46.7 QB rating. The guy just re-energized his career in one season. Um, I don't know why I hesitate to say he was the best player on that defense last year. Was out there basically every.
What?
Yeah, I got Xavier. Who you got?
Dexter
I
Lawrence,
res- I
bro.
respect
Sexy
Dexter. I
Dexy.
love Dexy, but Xavier was just different last year. You never want your safety having 100 plus tackles, but like when it happens, it just happens. To me, that just it showed
Same way
me
with Antoine.
he was comfortable. He was in the film room. He just knew what was coming at him at all times. Um, Probably about a 5 year, $52 million contract, making a little over 10 a year. Honestly, might be higher based on the way that the safety market has been as of recent. But they just can't let that out in New York this offseason.
No, I definitely agree with that pick. Xavier had that year that you were thinking he was gonna have since he's been drafted, or since he was drafted by the Giants. So I definitely like that. The player that I think they should sign before I even was trying to pick for this team, I was thinking offensive line. This team probably had the worst offensive line in the league last season. It was either them, the Patriots, or the Titans, probably. You could consider the Panthers too, but
Yeah.
I want them to go out and sign Michael Onwenu. This is probably the best young offensive lineman in this free agency class. A dude that's been a mainstay on that Patriots offensive line for the last 4 years. He was a 6th round pick, has played pretty much every position on that offensive line exceptionally well. And I think that versatility is something that the Giants desperately need, especially with not really knowing what Evan Neal is going to look like in year three. Question marks on the interior. The only real mainstay you have on that offensive line is Andrew Thomas. So I think they want to get a guy that they can move around, especially with all the question marks around. So Michael Onwenu is my pick for sure. Give him whatever he wants.
Yeah, I just can't disagree with that. Like you said, their O line was atrocious. And it breaks my
Terrible.
heart because Saquon had to run behind that O line. And it was just like he was the chosen child, chosen one out of college. Showed his rookie year what he could do. Obviously, he got injured, but that O line just held him back. And for me to draft, because you went O line, I didn't want to double dip. So to me, I'm going Rome Odunze. with the sixth pick. Um, he's pro ready. And if he doesn't work out, it's going to break my heart. Because I felt very strongly about N'Keal Harry, who was another big wide receiver that could stretch the ball down the field. And I'm really just hoping Rome doesn't become that. We saw what he did at Washington. Almost 1,700 yards, 13 touchdowns. He's 6'3", 215. We'll see what he runs tomorrow. And he makes catches all over the field. He catches the ball with his hands, which is a very important thing. Like, obviously, you think a wide receiver should catch the ball with his hands, but a lot of guys don't. A lot of bigger guys rely on their body. He's just not that. He plays the ball very well in the air, creates separation, is very strong off the line. Is very strong down the field. 17.8 yards per catch. Like the kid is
That's crazy.
going for almost 20 every time. First down, moving the ball down the field. And like you said, you got to protect Daniel Jones first. And then you got to put weapons around him. Darren Waller says he isn't committed to staying in New York this offseason. So you got to get him weapons. You drafted Hyatt last year. Go get a Dunze this year. Find a way to score points because that defense is fucking good. And you just can't keep letting that defense down. Deontay Banks was a great pick last year for them. Bolstered that secondary. D-line gets home. So now it's just time to score points in New York.
Couldn't agree more. Um, you know, Rome is a player that I kind of have a feeling could bust. I don't know why, but it just always feels like those bigger wide receivers. I'm like, uh, do we want to pull the trigger here?
It just makes you nervous.
It does, but Rome has done nothing but prove his point in college. I mean, those numbers speak for themselves. 20 yards per catch, that's absurd. So,
Nuts.
I'm sure I'm sure Daniel Jones will be slamming his fist on the table saying, get me Roma Dunze." So, I love the pick. If you can add Michael Onwenu and Roma Dunze to that offense, you're feeling a lot better.
A
If you're
lot
Daniel
better.
Jones and Brian Dable. Brian Dable. I don't know why it came out that way.
Maybe get your Saquon replacement later on in the draft. Braylon Allen, maybe.
Yeah. I would say, what's the boy from Michigan?
Quorum,
Yeah, but he's almost certainly going to be a Charger.
100%. There's no way he just isn't in LA after April.
But yeah, I think you gotta add to that offense, like you said.
Definitely.
So let's get to this last team, a team that has infinite money glitch, a team with the number 2 overall pick in the draft, the the Washington Commanders.
They just can't mess this up, right? There's no way they screw this up.
You can't.
80 million
Literally,
cap, number 2 pick.
you have everything that you could need to turn this back into a football team again.
100%. Let's get into the retain. Who you retaining?
So the list of free agents for this team was not it.
That's how I
It was
felt about
not
the
it.
Panthers.
I was going through the entire list. It's 17 players that
Sheesh.
it's 27
Jeez.
players that are set to become free agents, and I mean it's just a bunch of like backup level offensive linemen, some safeties that I wouldn't spend money on. I think Antonio Gibson's in there. The only one that really popped out to me was Curtis Samuel. Only because we talk about on this podcast all the time weapons, 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 especially for young QBs.
Yep.
So why not keep a guy that has been a good wide receiver 3 for you? Why not keep him around for your new QB to throw to? He was a good wide receiver 3, better than I originally thought he was. I didn't know his stats until a couple days ago when I was doing my research for this episode, but 613 yards and 4 touchdowns as a 3 that's pretty good. And Jahan Dotson was supposed to take that step in year 2. I don't really think he did personally. So you still got question marks in that wide receiver room. Obviously, Scary Terry isn't that, but I would keep him around, especially with the fact that you have unlimited cap space. Why not keep him around for a 2 or 3 year deal and just have him be that wide receiver three for the next couple years?
Yeah, like you said, their list of free agents just isn't quality this year. So if you're going to keep anybody in house, have to be Kurt. I can't disagree with that pick. Like I don't want to, but like I just don't have any options.
Right.
Signing, which is a little more interesting than retaining. We talked about him before. Big Brian Burns from Carolina. He wants 30 mil. The Panthers aren't going to be able to do that. I don't think the Commanders will do that. I don't think they should do that, but I do think they can get a little closer to his asking price than the Carolina can. Had 50 tackles, 8 sacks last year. He's only 25. Will be 26 in April. Two-time Pro Bowler. And has had over 7.5 sacks every year of his career. It's just not a guy you can pass up on to me if you're the Commanders, especially after losing Chase Young via trade to the 49ers. Interior, they have Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen. Why not add to that? Let's make it hectic for quarterbacks back there. Let's terrorize. Let's pressure the pocket. Let's collapse the pocket from inside and outside. So to me, you got to go Brian Burns if you're the Commanders.
I like that, especially trading away both of your edge rushers this last
Oh yeah, I forgot about Sweat.
like
Yeah, Sweat too. Like you just got to go edge.
yeah, you got to get someone to rush the passer, but I can't believe he's asking for 30 mil after an 8 sack season. I did not realize he only had 8 sacks.
Yeah, like he played very good, very productive ball, but he only had 8 sacks. I don't know where that $30 million price tag is coming from.
I mean, this dude is one of the better athletes at the on the edge in the entire NFL. Dude, this just flies, but I don't know. He's had a 12 and a half sack season, I believe. Yeah, last year. And I would pay him this number. I just think it's a little crazy that he's asking for 30
You would pay him 30?
after the season. No, I would pay him the number that you have
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Yeah, I got
if
him.
I'm the Commanders.
Yeah, 4 year, 100 million, 25 a year. I think that's doable.
I think that's reasonable, but I just think it's a little crazy to ask for 30 after the season you just had.
Definitely.
But yeah, you got to get someone on the edge. It's got you can't walk into the season with
Especially,
even if you draft one, like you just traded both of yours.
yeah. It's like especially you're playing Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts twice a year. Like you got to be able to rush the
Yeah,
passer.
I couldn't agree more.
It's just a big priority.
Uh, for sure. And then our last player of this video with the number 2 pick, is it anyone else besides Drake May? I don't think so.
I don't think you can argue anybody else.
I mean, because Caleb's going to go at 1, whether it's to the Bears or whoever they trade that pick to. I mean, I guess it could be the Commanders, but I mean, he's a no-brainer as the second QB off the board, as the second player off the board. This is a dude that has prototypical size, has the arm, has great athleticism, has produced in college. Even this year, after losing Josh Downs, some of his other targets, still produced. Um, he's just an all-around pro-ready guy. If he goes into the right system, which I think Cliff can give them some decent play calling, enough that Drake can develop. I think that he could eventually turn into right around a top 10 guy, probably. The only thing that sticks out in his tape that maybe you don't like is he does mess around and take a lot of sacks, which is what you just got out of your other UNC quarterback the last season.
Yeah.
I think Sam Howell had the third most all time
Jeez.
behind David Carr, who had, I think, the most in his rookie season, and then the second most all time was also David Carr. So Sam Howell is second place, I guess, behind David Carr for most sacks in a season.
Jeez.
But yeah, he I think Sam Howell had, or Drake May had a 19.8 percentage of the pressures converted to sacks, and I think most NFL QBs sit around like 10%. So you definitely want to get that number down. It's not something where I'm like worried, but you don't want the same thing that you just got out of your other quarterback.
Yeah. Um, I think May, like, across the board is the consensus number two pick, like you said. Um, but the Commanders, like we said, they do have a lot of money. And they could go out and get crazy if they wanted to. Um, Instead of drafting May, Marvin Harrison could be the second pick there. And you bring in a free agent quarterback. Um, I don't think they'll really have a true shot at Kirk Cousins. But I think Baker Mayfield is pretty damn good. Um, I kind of am a proven over an unproven guy. We know what Baker can do. You know he can get you to the playoffs. Um, and then a guy like Marvin Harrison next to Kurt Samuel, Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin. That would be difficult to guard because Harrison could play the inside and outside. You can move him around. Put Terry in the slot if you wanted to. Let Marv play the X. Um, there's a lot of options there, but I think either two has to be May or Harrison, just depending on what the Commanders can get done this free agency.
I like it. I mean, I'm never opposed to adding the best wide receiver in the class to the offense. And it's kind of a similar situation to one of our past episodes where we were talking about the Patriots, and it was like, I'm not adding Jaden Daniels to this because
Yeah,
the
it just
roster's
wouldn't
so
make
vast.
sense.
But for some reason, the Commanders feel different to me. Can't exactly explain why, but maybe it's the fact that they have three weapons already. They got Brian Robinson. Um, they have upside players on defense, I guess. I don't know. It feels a little bit closer, and I think with that amount of money, you can build a pretty good surrounding cast to put around a young QB. And when's the last time you really had a QB that you were excited about? I mean, Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace, and before that, RG3. Like it's time to draft a young guy and hope that you can have the next 10 years set up for yourself.
Yeah, I can't be mad at that. Quarterback play in Washington has been pretty disappointing. They just can't find the answer for some reason. And May just might be that answer. Um, but like we all say, weapons, weapons, weapons. Um, I don't know if we'll see another guy like Marvin Harrison in a while. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just hard to pass up on him.
it's definitely tough. I think it's gonna be Drake, but I wouldn't hate it if it was Marvin.
Like I just always think about the Vikings. I mean, not the Vikings. The Eagles drafting Jalen Rager instead of Justin Jefferson. Like you pass out on a guy like that, like you will be regretting your decision for a while. And obviously, it's even worse with a quarterback. If you pass him, Drake May ends up being the truth. You're screwed. But I just think a wide receiver has less of a bust rate than a quarterback does.
It's like what the Bills OC or the Bills GM said about drafting Josh Allen. He said, either I'm going to get this pick right or I'm not going to be here. So
And he
I
got it
think
right.
is that mentality for sure.
Yeah, got to gamble in this league. Hope
For
we hit on
sure.
21.
Well, that wraps up our NFC East breakdown. This was a fun episode. Definitely a lot to be excited about for these four teams. Maybe not the Giants, but you know,
Everybody
we'll
else,
uh
looking forward to the
we'll give
season.
some love to the Giants. But anything else you want to touch on this episode before we say peace to the Pop and T fam?
Just look forward to more interviews. Because I promise they're coming. Got some guys in the combine right now that we want to talk to. Some guys in college that we want to talk to. And just stay on the lookout for these RSD episodes. Love talking about free agency. Who doesn't love
Yeah,
playing
let
with
it
fake money? You know,
exactly. It's not mine, so I'm gonna have these teams doing crazy stuff.
always.
Yeah, if you want us to review your division, let us know. We'll get to it. We don't have any particular order that we're doing these in, so if you really want to hear about the AFC South, let us know. So, and yeah, if you haven't checked out our interview with Owen, I would definitely suggest getting on that. It was a great time, and expect more to come soon.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.